But that's how I became the only person in history to perform stand-up comedy on all 7 continents. While we're in the area, we'll go to Africa. Clearly, we went to U.S. public school. So 1,500 Indians is like 300 Americans. Which also checks out weight-wise. They got us onto the actual continent. I performed for some cruise mates and some penguins. It was a cold room. But this brown guy did all right in front of a black and white crowd. By the way, you're not allowed to approach the penguins. They have to come to you. It's like Bumble. That's right, maintenant. Maintenant. 3 syllables. That's a long word for now. By the time you get finished saying maintenant, it's no longer maintenant. I love a good pun. I'm a Punjabi. Maintenant. Thing is, they always tell you in LA, you need to make yourself unique. You need to find what makes you, you. Get tired of hearing that out here. What makes you unique? That's hard to find. Out of the 100 billion people who have ever lived on Earth, the 100 billion people who have ever lived on Earth, what could you do that no one else has done? Well, mine's a little weird. I'm the only person to perform stand-up comedy on all 7 continents. Thanks. It's a little random. I'm gonna tell you how I did it. North America was easy. I'm doing it again right now. Asia was easy because of that white guy who told me to go back to India. That was the gift that keeps on giving. And India was really cool, man. It was a really, really cool thing. I went over and did a tour called Make Chai Not War. And I'm Hindu. One of my best friends, Azhar Usman, is Muslim. And we were thinking, you know what, we agree on so much, right? We watch the same movies, we listen to the same music, we laugh at the same jokes, we agree on everything except for the final destination of our souls. But we're like, you know what, maybe what we could do for Hindus and Muslims, since there's so much conflict, we'll start a comedy tour. And we're like, if Hindus and Muslims can laugh together, maybe they can live together, and you see what a great job we did with that. Problem solved. The US government, you may or may not know this, the State Department actually has a program where they send American entertainers overseas to endear America to countries while we bomb their neighbors. Funny because it's true. And so the thing is, they'll send over jazz singers and comedians and artists, and it is really a cool thing. So the US State Department was like, get one more comedian. We got Hari Kondabolu out of New York, and so it came to pass. The US government sent 3 comedians to India. And they brought us back, by the way, because this was during Obama. Trump would have just left us there, I think. Got rid of 3 of them. These were big shows. We did 7 shows in 7 cities. It was crazy. We had an average attendance of about 1,500 to 2,000 Indians in these audiences. It was crazy. About 2,000 Indians. Well, although India is now the world's most populous country, so 1,500 Indians is like 300 Americans. Which also checks out weight-wise. We landed at the Bombay airport. Well, okay, let me canvass this for a second because we got quite a few people who may have been to India. Do you say Bombay or Mumbai? Round of applause if you say Bombay. Round of applause if you say Mumbai. Oh, okay, we got a younger crowd. That's what that means right there, all right? I remember I ate at a restaurant over in that city, and it had a sign. And the sign at this restaurant over there read, Mumbai is the location, Bombay is the emotion. Ooh. I like that. I'll roll with that. I like that, right? So we landed at the BOM airport. We go in, and there's so many people there, you never quite get used to it. There's a labor surplus because of the sheer number of humans. We land, we go in, and 8 people checked our passport. I don't even think 6 of them worked there. Some of them didn't have a stamp or a stand. It's like, passport de do, passport de do, passport de do. 8 times in a row. I'm like, that guy, I think he's an Uber driver. What is he doing with my passport? So we get in the car, and actually we find out very quickly that he's a Hindu driver. And you can tell that he's Hindu because he has a gunpati on his dashboard. Not everybody's gonna know what a gunpati is. A gun? No, that's Texas. A gunpati is a little statue of Lord Ganesh, one of our gods. And Lord Ganesh is the remover of obstacles. And yet the traffic. Is he asleep? What's happening? Thing is now, some people say, well, it's not like that anymore. Well, here's the thing. Any place that you leave is frozen in time for you. My parents came to this country in the early 1970s. And the typical story is the man comes over with a degree in engineering, gets a job, flies back, gets an arranged marriage, and brings his bride over to this country. My situation is completely reversed. My mom came here first. Girl power. She came from a progressive Punjabi family. Her parents believed that they had 2 sons, 4 daughters. They're all going to college equally. This is the 1950s in India. They made it happen. Okay, that was amazing. My mom comes over here in 1970. She flies back to marry the man with whom she's in love. It was a love marriage. It was a love marriage, not an arranged marriage. Well, it was kind of an arranged marriage. Because my dad arranged to become a completely different person after they got married. In that way, every marriage is an arranged marriage. But he came over in 1973 with a degree in poli-sci, worked as a salesman, my mom as a teacher. Completely different story. They did not go back to India, although I think they were told. They did not go back to India until 1985, which is a long time. And we thought that was a long time until we found out recently that one of my mom's really good friends went back to India for the first time this year. She left in 1968. And she gets back and she's like, oh my God. India has changed so much. The boys are so respectful now. I used to walk down the street, they would whistle at me, they don't whistle anymore. Like, that auntie has swag. I gotta bottle up and sell it like 5-hour energy. Also invented by an Indian. Thing is, of course, there's not much of a language barrier. It's one thing we can thank the British for, all right? Everybody there, a lot of people there at least speak English. But they kind of do the thing that Seema auntie does. They make things plural that are not plural. People would walk up to Azhar, to Hari, to me, and they were really nice. They would say things like, we love your YouTubes. We love your YouTubes, yaar. We love your YouTubes. And it's just like my tubes. It just sounds so personal when you make it plural. Like, I don't have any tubes. I think I learned that in pre-med. So Indians love to make things plural. The Chinese like to make them singular. I don't know if it's the one-child policy or what it is. But we were in a Chinese restaurant in Hyderabad, and I had to go to the bathroom. So I'm standing in line, and I see a sign, and it doesn't read men. It reads man. And I'm laughing my ass off. I'm like, oh, the Chinese, they don't know that it should be men. They put man, right? They gotta be wrong, there's no way. Then it's my turn to go inside. I go inside, and there's only one toilet. I'm like, they're right. It's man. You can fit only one man in here at a time. The Chinese are always right, damn it. Speaking of the Chinese, Senator Rand Paul of Kentucky was grilling then Secretary of State Hillary Clinton on Capitol Hill about the Benghazi hearings. That's a lot of proper nouns and prepositions. But you remember this, right? Republicans were giving Hillary a lot of hell about the confirmation process and all that. And he brought up our tour. He goes, you guys spent $100,000 sending 3 comedians to India. That was our tour! Because of that crazy Republican in Kentucky, we're part of the congressional record. Except in our moment of glory, he called it Make Chi Not War, which would have been Chinese. Now, this part of it did not make it into the congressional record. I will say right now that one of the great improvements in India is the bathroom situation. It's way better, okay? I remember going with my parents in 1985, and they had the squat toilets. All right, people ask why we do yoga. They're like, is it tied into meditation and inner peace? I'm like, no. Not inner peace, outer pieces, okay? We're trying not to fall in the toilet. Too bad my son's not here. He'd love that joke. Okay. We're on our way from Kolkata to Durgapur. And you know it's a true story because I cannot pronounce Durgapur. I would have picked another city. But we were on our way from Kolkata to Durgapur in this 3-hour ride in this red van. We're late per usual, and I really have to go to the bathroom. So we're almost there. I'm like, I cannot hold it anymore. I'm shifting in my seat. I'm not even shifting in my seat. I'm full-on Punjabi dancing. You know, like I just cannot even, like that's where our dancing comes from too. I just cannot hold it in at all. Like I'm dying. They pull over the van to this line of shops and stores, and I get out. And I have to go to the bathroom so badly, I can now speak Hindi. Because I don't speak Hindi. And I was always ashamed of the fact that I don't speak Hindi, but it's because I was born in this country before 1984. That's my theory. The mantra at the time was assimilation. If you're born in this country before 84, you probably don't speak your native tongue. Now, after this, you ask the kids these days, they speak Rajasthani and Punjabi and Gujarati, and that's just the Tamil kids. They're really smart. But I walked up and I asked this guy, I was like, washroom kahan hai? Washroom kahan hai? You may know this about South Asia. Nobody's gonna tell you where anything is. I've never had anybody tell me where anything is located. They're just gonna tell you where the next guy is standing. Who's gonna tell you where the next guy is standing? Who's gonna tell you where the next guy is standing? And that's the great thing about having 1.4 billion people. There's always the next guy standing. I get to the end, it's like swinging through the jungle like Tarzan on vines, and they keep appearing. This is why South Asians are so good at the internet. Before it launched, this was our network, okay? We're getting all the way to the end, and I see this guy standing there. I'm like, washroom kahan hai? He points at a sign. This time, it does not read man. It does not read men. It reads gents. 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 For gentlemen. I think this is going to be a nice bathroom. I open up the door and it takes me right back outside again. It's just a hole. It's literally the whole bathroom. It is a hole in the ground. Never in my life have I felt more like a gentleman, by the way. Cars are whizzing by, I'm whizzing into a hole. At least they could give me a top hat and a cane, I could feel like a gentleman. I go in to complain, I'm like, there's a hole in the toilet. He goes, that is the toilet. So I book a bar gig in Brisbane. My dad's brother has lived in Brisbane with his family for over half a century. Go to Sydney, and I don't know if you've been to Australia or not, but Aussies are some of the best crowds in the world. They are amazing, because to make them laugh, all you have to do is make fun of the British. They invaded 90% of the countries on the planet. You know that? At the time, it was 90% of the countries on the planet. And I always wondered, how did they do it? I remember asking a British friend of mine, we just celebrated July 4th, when's your Independence Day? He just stared at me. Until it hit me, oh, that's right, you don't have one. You just have days that other countries gain their independence from you. But how'd they do it? I think it's that voice. That British accent does something to people. We're either intimidated by it, we're scared of it, we find it sexy. Something's going on with that voice. It just gets people. The thing is, we kicked them out of the United States over 200 years ago. And we invited them back in when we needed judges for American Idol. And America's Got Talent, and Top Chef. Because it sounds better coming from them. We still want them to judge us. Why is that? Why are we seeking we broke up with them. They should be seeking our approval. But I guarantee you they are not. You were never gonna see the Great British Bake Off hosted by Larry the Cable Guy. You can use the British voice to your advantage. If you ever need a late checkout from a hotel, use the British voice. Because Azhar and I were in Hyderabad, and we've been talking and solving the world's problems till 6 in the morning. We realized we need a late checkout. We can't really do a great British accent. We call up Mo Ammer, a really good friend of ours. And he's in Cairo. We put him on FaceTime. We called down to the front desk. He could do a spot on British accent. I can't. I'm an Indian guy doing an impression of a Palestinian guy doing an impression of a British guy. So, Polaroid in the sun, okay? It's not gonna be quite as good, but he goes, cheerio, could you just be a dear? And do you mind giving us, our flight got rerouted through Spain? Is there any way maybe you can give us like a 4 p.m. checkout? He asked for a 4 p.m. checkout. And we got it! Do you have any idea how late that is? That's an hour later than the check-in of the next day. And it's a really late checkout. And by the way, my wife's family hates this joke because they're Gujarati and they run hotels and stop telling everybody how to get a late checkout. It's because everything sounds right in that accent. If I say it to you right now, sir, 2 and 2 is 5. You're like, no, it's not. But if I go 2 and 2 is 5, love, you got to think about it. That's right. Because the British are smart, I'm sure that's probably applicable to them like anyone else. They get a lot of credit because of that accent. They're not that smart. Right? You do know that the British used to send their criminals to Australia. I'm not making that up. You know that, right? Australia was a penal colony for the British. But I don't know if you've been to Australia. It's a way better place than England. It's warmer, it's larger, cooler animals. I think if the British were really that smart, they would have gone to Australia and left the criminals in England. So true. Needless to say, the Aussies ate that up. And while we were planning the trip, we thought, while we're in the area, we'll go to Africa. Clearly, we went to U.S. public school. And if you're not laughing, so did you. Because Africa is nowhere near Australia. We found this out the hard way. We're like Southern Hemisphere. How far could it be? Really, really far. I got news for you. The Southern Hemisphere is just as big as the Northern Hemisphere. 18 hours later, after connecting through Singapore, we land in Johannesburg. And we loved South Africa because my wife's mom was born in South Africa. In fact, we have a lot of family down there, and we loved it. We loved everything about South Africa, except for the name. They sort of gave up when they named the place, didn't they? What direction is it? South. What continent? Africa. Done. We're not going to put any more thought into this at all. Then again, we do the same thing here in the United States. We have stores here called mailboxes, etc. Linens and things. Bed Bath Beyond. What's the etc.? What things? Anything could be in that Beyond section. What's in it? We flew home through Paris, so that was Europe for us. And the French, being the French, insisted that every comedian on the lineup at this bar gig do at least one joke in French. I've not taken French since college. Does anyone here know what the word is for now in French? Wow, look at this, very cultured audience. Literary and cultured, I love this. That's right, maintenant. Maintenant. 3 syllables. That's a long word for now. By the time you get finished saying maintenant, it's no longer maintenant. They like that one too, okay. Good, glad. Good. I find out that there's a group of people, API. This is a bunch of South Asian doctors, but they don't call it SAD. Because they're happy, they make a lot of money. Make a lot of money. I think my doctor's here tonight. They make a lot of money, I'm telling you. What kind of medicine? Internal medicine. Isn't it all internal medicine? Unless you're a dermatologist, it's all internal medicine. And I remember saying something about how they make the least amount of money, sorry. But then I had a pediatrician come up to me, and she's like, actually, we make less money. I'm like, well, your patients are... They should make less. It's like operation. I mean, come on. I find out that this group, API, is setting sail from South America to Antarctica. Boom. I'm hitching a ride with these fools. I'm going to do it. I don't care if I'm pre-med for 2 years. I'm going to sleep in the hold of the ship like Leo DiCaprio. I'm in. Okay? I'm going to do it. I hitch a ride. I take my college roommate along with me, and we fly down to Buenos Aires. I've been in Buenos Aires for 45 minutes. And I realized I really screwed up by not being born Latino. So close. The laid-back vibe, the beautiful people, the delicious food, it was incredible. I do this bar gig, it goes really well. And by the way, how am I getting these bar gigs? It's because when you're a comedian, you're sort of in this society of comedians. Like, you can hook each other up with this stuff. And comedians can be totally racist. We don't care. We have no line. So I hit up every Mexican comedian I knew. I was like, do you know anyone in Venezuela? And then they gave me people in Argentina, and that was it. So, fly down there, do the gig, and it went, well enough that the crowd decides to take me out in Buenos Aires. I don't know if you've been there before, but it was incredible. I always thought Latinos were kidding when they said that they go really late. And everything starts late, goes late. I'm like, they're exaggerating. There's no way. Dinner at 11 p.m., bar at 12 a.m., we try to go to a club at 12:30. It's not open yet. This club opens at 1 a.m. We go for a drink, come back at 1:30. It's a line 50 people deep. We go inside. We dance till 5 in the morning. It's a Wednesday. So I have high hopes for tonight. Hungover, I board the ship for Antarctica. Okay, I get on the ship, I'm gonna do it. The reason my wife did not go on this trip is something called the Drake Passage. Anyone know what that is? The Drake Passage is the roughest seas in the world. It's 600 miles of water where ships can pitch up to 40 feet. My wife was like, no thanks. Rajiv already rocks my world hard enough. Hi, Mom. Hey, you got a son out of it. What do you want? Yes, Naveen. We'll get there. So to even imagine what that's like, 40 feet, are you kidding me? You have to go back to math class and the X, Y, and Z axes, okay? Because you are a point in space, and the ship is rocking back and forth. It is rolling side to side like Axl Rose. By the way, that's where rock and roll comes from. And it's also pitching up and down. So you were a point in space doing this, and the only way to make that even remotely bearable is drugs. They give you something called a scopolamine patch, okay? Scopolamine is a drug. You take it, and it is to cure seasickness. The side effect, I'm not making this up, is nausea. That'd be like if Viagra, the side effect is impotence. Like, are you kidding me? What's the point of that? Literally, like, what is the point of that? Crazy. So we put it on, and then you read the package, and it tells you it is a patch to be put on a non-hairy part of your body. You're ahead of me on this one. Yeah, we're South Asian. Where's it gonna go? Behind the ear it goes, and oh my gosh, scopolamine. Oh, I learned to love the Drake passage more than, you better find your lovin', you better find your heart. That's a passage by Drake. My British accent's a little better. And we're sailing along with all these Indians who bring along their own chef. South Asians cannot be without our cuisine. I tell you, they put the tikka in Antarctica. I love a good pun. I'm a Punjabi. As we approach the continent, I begin to fret because it turns out they decide to tell us now, no company can promise you a continental landing. What? And they go, it's in the terms and conditions. I go, that's like a Droid or an iPhone. Who reads that stuff? You just scroll to the end and hit I agree. Are you kidding me? They go, no, because the ship goes in, and then because of the water, there's no landing docks. Antarctica's not a country, it's a landmass. So you have to wait for the water to smooth out, and it doesn't always do that. Luckily, our crew consisted mostly of Europeans. And if anybody can figure out how to invade a landmass, they got us onto the actual continent. I performed for some cruise mates and some penguins. It was a cold room. But this brown guy did all right in front of a black and white crowd. By the way, you're not allowed to approach the penguins. They have to come to you. It's like Bumble. And the penguins are very cute, but they're kind of aloof. They kind of don't care that you're there. Then again, anytime anyone desperately traveled thousands of miles to come see me, I kind of blew them off too. We come back through South America, and I miss Christmas with Hersha. I'm really sorry. But I did text her from South America saying, let me know if you want anything from Amazon. I'm on bottom of the world. I don't know. I don't know what it says about me that I got my stand-up comedy on Antarctica before I got it on late-night TV. But that's how I became the only person in history to perform stand-up comedy on all 7 continents.